Financial disclaimer. The information provided in this stream is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional financial or investment advice. We are not licensed financial advisors, and the content presented here is based on our personal opinions and experiences. Investing in stocks and other financial instruments involves risk, including the potential loss of capital. Any investment decisions you make are solely your own responsibility, and you should conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment choices. The content we share on this stream may not be accurate, complete, or up to date. Market conditions and financial regulations can change rapidly, and we cannot guarantee the accuracy or reliability of the information presented. We do not endorse or promote any specific stocks, companies, or investment strategies. Any actions you take based on the content of this stream are at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses or damages that may occur as a result. Always remember that past performance is not indicative of future results, and no investment is guaranteed to be profitable. Make informed decisions and consider your risk tolerance before investing any funds. By accessing and using this stream, you acknowledge and agree that we are not responsible for any investment decisions you make as a result of the content presented. You are encouraged to seek advice from qualified financial professionals for personalized guidance. Please invest responsibly and only with money you can afford to lose.
Hey man, just found the next guaranteed multi-bagger.
Hey man, you found another one? What is it this time?
Come check this out.
Okay, next please. How can I help you, young man?
We want to go all in on lead gen. We have seen this chart many times before, and it's just a matter of time before it turns around.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that check and it's gone.
Hey everybody, welcome to Laughing Stock. It's very good to be back. We haven't been back in a few weeks now, Dane. How are you?
Good, man. We apologize, guys. Just every time him and I are trying to like set this up, one of us has something going on one day, and then the next day the other one can't do it. So it's been a pain, but happy to be back.
But a lot of things have happened in the market in that time that we didn't stream, I think, and so a lot to go through today. But before we move into that stuff, what do you think about Legion here?
I think this is where you go all in.
Yeah,
I think there's going to be a big bounce, parabolic long.
There's no doubt that that's going to take back its moving averages and just continue on a good run. I think it's, after all, one of these China companies that we really love here.
We got to get value out there.
Yeah, he's on it. If I know value correctly, he's already on it.
I'm pretty sure he's just been touring China for the past few months.
Yeah, there's so many golden opportunities in those type of charts. So yeah, not the first one we have seen that looks almost identical, or at least the general trend is similar to the ones we have seen in the past here.
You know, there is a legitimate short strategy when you see one of these Chinese companies start to dump.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I'm going to start screening for like Chinese companies with like under, I don't know, 100 million in market cap, and just waiting for them to peak, and then I'm just going all in against it.
Yeah, and I just looked. Hold on, can go. I will pull up the chart here. Hold on. Here it is. Because if you look at the bottom of my screen, all these bars down here is the volume bars, right? And they all have a dot above them, which basically means the volume is drying up. And look for how long, and it's of course affected by these big candles here, you know. But even still, this is like, there's no interest here for a long time. All of a sudden, it starts to move. And that's probably where you should track it for potential shorting, you know.
Yeah, and the other thing too is it looks like, you know, just with those like that last like 3 like bumps there, you can see someone's dumping there. Like if people don't see that, when that gets like exponential like that, and then it just collapses each time, that's someone dumping and a bunch of people who have no idea what they're doing piling in.
I just inverted it, Dane. Look how good looks.
That's the kind of short I'm
undercut and
looking
rally.
for. Yeah, I mean that's just someone pulling the rug out on people. But
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I hear about this a lot, and I guess I was never ever too like subjected. I mean, don't get me wrong, I probably have been in a company that, you know, did do a rug pull just
Yeah.
because like at some point I was probably just looking at charts and stuff and you know, and having a stop loss, you know, so I might have went in on one of these because honestly, you could have actually played this as a swing trade and you know just had stops and you would have been okay. But yeah, the people who hold on to these things, I'll tell you, that is no longer anything in part of my strategy. I'm not holding to let things go back. I don't have the mental fortitude. I know like that's what, you know, Munger and all those guys say, but they also know the companies they're in so well. It's totally different than, you know, just looking at charts and trying to play volume and momentum. If you really, really know a company and it pulls back on you, like Intel, for instance, I always thought it was crazy that Intel had been down so much because I told you, I mean, they're number one manufacturer of CPUs. Like, you really think that's going away? And obviously now it's, you know, flung back and it's got a million contracts going on. And I mean, you obviously couldn't predict, you know, the government investing it and everything. But my point being is I didn't see a company like that going anywhere. It's just out of favor at the time because NVIDIA was taking all the, you know, but nowadays anything to do with semiconducting is, you know, you could throw a penny at it and you'll make $1.
Hold on, I don't know. Do I have some issues with my microphone, or can you hear me well?
Now I can. For a second I couldn't.
Okay, I don't know what's going on, but yeah, let me know if you can't hear me or something. But I was also looking at these candles, and it's interesting to see like they are, at least these three ones, they are intraday, they're going up and then just hammering down, you know, all of them. So there's just a lot of funky business going on there, I guess.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know.
And there's very little gapping down as well. So yeah. Anyways, let's move into the real stuff then. What do you think about the QQQ here?
I mean, it's holding up, so
Yeah.
it's it didn't even come back to the 20. You know, I mean, that's kind of the crazy thing here is I don't know. I'm looking around and I guess this AI play is just so like convincing that nothing will break. I mean, there's just you know, and I've seen, you know, there was a pullback. There was a pretty healthy pullback actually last week in some of these, you know, semi names, but
Yeah.
they still just come flying back.
This is the this is the ETF or the fund SOXX.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you could see there's a little bit of a dip there, but I mean, that one hit the 20 perfect, right? Is that your 20?
Yeah, bounced.
Yeah.
This is the EMAs, so it bounced straight on the. This is the 21, but bounced on it, and just like the use, it's like kind of breaking out again now, you know.
Right.
So yeah, no, I think it looks strong, and everyone's waiting for a little bit of a sideways move. Who knows? Maybe, you know, it did hit the ceiling here, the Qs, you know. So maybe we will get a sideways move for a little bit. We just have to wait and see. But that's when you just continue to scan every day for stocks and look for setups, I think.
Kevin said good morning from Lakeland, Florida. What's up, Kev?
Hold on, let me check here. Hey, Kevin. Nice. How's Florida? Oh, value too?
Yeah, value's in here.
Do I need to get my passport up to date again? Looking forward to visiting the next noodle shop. Yeah, you have to, value. We are you are our guy in Asia. We need you there.
Yeah, it's too far for us, man.
Yeah. So get that passport ready because you are going to Legion. And I checked their website. They have they stopped with their updates in 2025. So that's also a good sign, I think, for a turnaround story.
It always gets bleakest before it turns around.
You know they are working on something exciting then. So that's the task value.
Yeah, we were talking in the stream back and forth about, you know, how this market's been, especially for swing trading, just because you know, there has been some pullbacks. So I know you guys were discussing, you know, what you're doing to combat that.
Yeah, it was for me. I gave a like I was very happy with the on the last stream. I think I was I can't even remember like how much I was. It wasn't a lot, but for me it was a lot. You know, I think I was at the top 13% in just a matter of a few weeks in April. You know, so very good period. And I gave it all back on this pullback here, but now I just kept to the style and the system, and now I'm back up a little bit again, not 13%, but I'm up 5 or 6%, I think, which happened this week. So I got into a few names that did really well this week. So I tried to reflect a lot on what I did wrong, and I don't think in hindsight that I broke necessarily so many rules, but I had maybe a poor selection in terms of stocks and themes. And also I didn't take the profits while I had them, because even if I say I maybe selected wrong themes and stocks, I did get an initial gain like more than 10% on a couple of the names, you know, which I could have taken off the half position or something and just let it go down to break even again. And then together with a little bit of a poor entry period in the new names, I just gave my profits back, you know. But at the same time, I see a lot of like well-known traders saying that they experienced the same, and even some of them had a 10% drawdown in one day. So I'm struggling a little bit to have a conclusion if I did something terribly wrong, or that's just how it is in this game and you have to get used to it. Probably a little bit of both. But I did made some adjustments to the style. I changed from the simple moving averages. I have started to use the exponential moving averages now on all my charts and all the time frames. And then I also made some changes to my scanning process, and I'm now scanning for more liquid stocks to stay in like the good momentum, solid names. And I think, and then I did go back to study and watch a few videos and read about like a pullback entry style to know a little bit more what to look for. So I did go back and study more, and I feel so far that helped me a lot. So I guess I just have to wait and see moving forward. But that's kind of been my reflections in this period where I kind of lost my gains, you know. And so far it has worked, but it's such a short period, so we have to wait and see for a little bit.
Yeah, I just some of the things I've been working on this week is I've been coming up with ways, because like I said, my list has ballooned up in terms of stuff that I'm kind of following that's on my like list that I'm tracking, and I've come up with a few ways to take stuff off, and I think it's reasonable. Signals that I'm looking for is, you know, if it's showing like kind of weakness in its sector as compared to the average group, you know, you're supposed to be in the leaders, that kind of thing. So they can get kicked off for that. If they're trending, you know, below the 200 MA, that's a good way to get kicked off. And then also it doesn't have to be just below the 200 MA, but if something's in like a general uptrend, and let's say it's been bouncing off like a 20 moving average like constantly, and it really starts to break past that for the first time, that's also a way to get kicked off. You know, I don't want to just take stuff off the list because stuff does always bounce back. Like that, my list is ballooned up because it's kind of keeping track of, like, let's say there's 3 or 4 industries that are doing well, but they kind of come in and out of favor. Just because, you know, there's like 20 in stocks that have been doing well and they take a month or 2 off because kind of the whole sector cooled off. I don't want to take those off my list that I'm watching just because the whole sector's cooled down a little bit, because when it all comes back, it comes back quick. And if you are keeping an eye on those names every day, you can kind of see when they all start to, you know, pop back up. You're like, oh, okay, I see these, you know, this sector is all of a sudden starting to kind of show some life again. Yeah. So I've been using that as a way to kind of screen. And then in the morning, I've gotten it down to where usually it's about 2 to 3 stocks I'm kind of looking at. Some days you can just tell. I can't remember what day it was, but Quantum this last week, there was a day where Quantum just looked great. And like there's like 8 or 9 names up, like almost 10% or more in the morning in pre-market. So you could just tell it was going to be a super strong day for that. So that's kind of how I've been focusing my attention when I actually go to trade. But I'm actually at all-time highs right now, and I have a better return right now than I do from my first year. Like if I look at my 3 years tracking, I'm at about 23% right now up. And the previous years, my 2024 I was up 22.68, and last year I ended around 18.5. So this right now is better than my previous few years. And this is since I've been swing trading. This was not deep value. Deep value, I had a year where I like, you know, I was up like 150% or something crazy. But what do you call it? I'm pretty excited because, you know, at that rate, I'm trying to hit 50%. You know, and like I told you too, I'm tracking all my trades. I'm trying to do what, you know, Lance and all those guys say to do, Minervini and all of them. Just go through your trades, make sure you keep improving, you know, look for patterns. And you know, my hit rate's been incredibly high doing this, which is the one thing that's kind of kept me coming back to this, because I do put a large amount of risk on the board for this, comparative probably to some traders. But then I also hear that, you know, some of the best traders say you kind of have to increase that risk a little bit. As long as your strategy stays profitable, it's okay to have a little bit higher of a risk. So as long as that doesn't really go against me, which so far, you know, I've been really tracking things for about 2 months while I've been doing this. I haven't had that happen. So as of now, I'm not really going to change much because this has definitely been the most successful. And for instance, in the last month, I'm up 8.7%. So I don't know what the S&P is up. So maybe it's not that impressive if that's exactly what the S&P is up. But
yeah, but you know, it's you're at least where you should be then.
Yeah, no, I'm looking because April 9th was the first day I started tracking, which obviously was a great day to start tracking because that's when the markets came back. Yeah, but actually not. And so the markets are up 15% from that point. So I guess it's not all that impressive, but either way, at least I'm holding on to my gains. That's the one thing I like about this strategy, is because I'm quick to get in and quick to get out. It holds the gains instead of, you know, seeing stuff pull back, which is historically something I really struggled with.
And you have also seen that your this strategy has also worked since January, you know.
Yeah, it's worked for a while. And you know, I think it was sometime in March that I really started to do this, and even in that whole downtrend period, in March and February, if I remember right. You know, according to the tracker that I've been doing it for 11 weeks. So wherever that puts me, I don't know what 11 weeks back is.
Yeah.
But
yeah, will be very exciting to see how everything goes. And I still feel like it's so cool to see that you can do so many different things, and they all, for different people, it all works, you know. There's a lot of ways to do it, and in the end then you have an arsenal of techniques to use in different kinds of environments that you can profit from.
Yeah, and I did start. That's right. That because now that I think back, I started this in March because the whole idea is when the market was going down, I was just trying to take little bits. Like I was like, you know what, like these days everything just collapses, so just don't get greedy. And ever since then, it's been working. So
yeah. And that's pretty cool that because you are not shorting, right? So this is all long positions, or in a day you're in and out, but
yeah, it's just focusing on when momentum kicks in, which you know, if you look at charts, there's all kinds of time periods you can find momentum kicking in.
Yeah. So no, it's cool. Yeah, I think we were speaking about crypto, and we have been. I was in MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy was one of my most successful trades for 2026 so far. So I've been tracking crypto for a long time. We were talking a little bit about the charts here, Dane, and I told you I made a list of like all the, not all the, but a lot of the altcoins plus the Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I don't like it.
I don't either. I was just saying that before. I was like, I don't know. That chart looks pretty bearish to me at the moment.
Yeah, and of course things turn around quickly, but we are speaking about right now. You know, Bitcoin has lost all the EMAs here. A pretty big red candle on, I guess that was yesterday, yeah, where it lost the 50 EMA.
Yeah, and
it's kind of heading towards. I don't know where the next support level here will be, but I'm very, yeah, I guess you can call it surprised that Bitcoin and crypto in general, they have not wanted to participate properly in this pretty unique rally that we have been through in the general markets, you know. In the past, you have seen like crypto exploding when the market has been favorable, but now it just feels a little bit different. And then you start to ask some questions like, you know, for now it seems like crypto has changed from what it used to be just a year or two ago. I don't know. There's a lot of institutional ownerships here now. There's all kinds of regulations and news, you know, banks adapting the systems and all that stuff. Maybe that has an effect on the moves. But like we also talked about before the stream, then there are different ways you can play it without owning the crypto on its own, like MicroStrategy and stuff like that. So I think even some miners looks good right now. Even with Bitcoin prices here, I've seen a lot of the miners and you know, that part of it still looks good, and you can make some money trading those names.
Yeah,
but there are some signs here that I don't like right now in terms of the crypto itself.
Yeah, like you said, nothing's really holding up. Everything's kind of pulling down. It's below all the moving averages now. So
yeah.
And also too, like if you go back to the Bitcoin chart there,
Yeah. Here.
Would well actually let me just pull it up on mine so I can get the actual date here.
Yeah.
But the fact that, you know, like it had dipped on, was that April 29th? You know, when I see us break that number, like the 28th, 29th period, when I see us break through that low, that means that this little rally, which, you know, touched the 200 MA and then just broke down from there, and now it's breaking down to lower lows from that point. That's like a real cut signal for me in terms of like, you know, this would start to come off my lists like that. You know, I see that and I'm like, all right, that's kind of where I don't want this on my list anymore, because it's not, if it has a rally here, it's most likely going to be one that just fails. So I'm trying not to get caught in those as much as possible, because like I said, my strategy really depends on my hit rate. As long as my hit rate stays good, the amount of risk I put up, because I do put out a substantial amount of risk on each trade. So I always have to be really cognizant of making sure that I'm only taking strong names because, you know, they can always burn you.
Issues today then with my stuff here.
I was gonna say, I just saw your camera disappear.
I think no, but I agree. It's like especially this top here that it made, like the one you were speaking about now, and then you just see it takes a U-turn. It starts to question, like I don't know what's going to happen in the general market, and or if that's going to continue to go up, you know. But was this it? Was this the move in Bitcoin for this bull run? That if that's the case, it wasn't a very strong or a long one. But let's see though, you know, things can change quickly, especially in the crypto space, I guess. But yeah, it's just a little bit disappointing, I think, and I expected a little bit more from you know, this field, but my MicroStrategy trade was still very successful in terms of what I'm used to. So and I own a few miners and stuff also that has done well, so there are still opportunities.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I know you've been kind of working on pullbacks and whatnot. So that's one of the other things too, is it's not to say that you can't play these things. It's just, you know, if you're trying to go long, you know, the more I think, you know, the more I keep doing all this stuff is like, I just want charts that look, you know, great. You know, those are the names I want to follow. I want to follow the stuff that's just been in an uptrend. So, you know, even if I took it at the wrong time, my chance of just breaking even or getting some small gain is quite high, just because in general, it's just been moving up.
Yeah.
You know, and when it finally takes the turn and starts to come back, that's where, you know, it's not really interesting me at that point. I'll move on to whatever else. There's a million things to go into.
So what did you take then this for this week?
Hang on, let me just pull up my account here and say exactly, because all right. So on, what was the first day of the week? The 18th? Yes. So on the 18th, I did HIVE.
HIVE, let's check. Oh yeah, biggest up volume ever on that day.
Yeah. So I mean, you can see what I'm doing. I'm not doing, you know, and my goal is to capture big chunks of these moves. It's just I just see stuff that's in a huge momentum, and you know, I'm just focusing on, you know, getting in, capturing a small amount of that move and getting out, and you know, just keeping the stop loss. I keep my stop loss now incredibly tight. And the reason is because I don't really need a lot of return to stay profitable.
But do you
so
take partials or something, Dane, on this strategy, or do you sell everything?
typically I just get out. I typically will just sell the whole portion. But like I said, all those little, like I'm saying that now, I am tracking all my trades. So I may find that if I had sold portions and I adjust how I sell it, there might be a better way of doing it. So, you know, don't take that as like, that's like the way to do something.
Yeah.
But it is the way that, you know, I just try and keep it simple. You know, I'm not trying to like have like a million little rules and all this stuff. It's just when I see an opportunity to take, you know, and I see that the stock's moving, I just try and capture some of that move. And I know that's, you know, easy enough said, but I find as long, you know, it really comes down to, like they all say, is how disciplined are you? Are you able to really, really stick to your stop loss? You know, when you take a hit, just ignore it. It's going to happen. You're going to have times where it doesn't work. And it, you know, just you have to understand that, like, just because I go into something, your timing could be pretty good, and that's not good enough. You know, it's just sometimes things don't work. And as soon as you sell, it bounces right back up, and you can't hit yourself about that. The more important thing is, like every trader and investor says, number one rule always is do not try and lose money. You know, if you don't lose money, it doesn't matter if you're gaining. If you think about it, if you did, I don't know, if you, let's say you went all in on a trade every day, and you made 0.5% or something incredibly small each day, but you had a decent enough hit rate that you're not losing money, then you're going to slowly compound, and 0.5% even a day would turn into astronomical numbers. So I've just been taking kind of like that idea and saying, like, you don't need much, just get something, get out, and you know, just make sure that you never mess up your stop loss, and you'll keep going. And so far I've been getting anywhere from, you know, break even to a few percent a week.
Yeah. And then,
but yeah, so I did 5. Sorry,
yeah.
what?
No, just like your stop loss initially, is that on the low of the first candle, or the candle you go in on, or how do you do the stop loss?
It kind of can change, but I typically will have it as low of the day. But if it's up so much from there, like, you know, I'll keep it at a maximum. Like, I won't allow it to go past so much, because,
a certain percentage.
you know, the other thing too is you can never let your stop loss like be too loose. If you do, you're just going to get chopped up.
Yeah. That's one of my big aims for the 2026, to have a average stop of, you know, below 2%, preferably like 1.5%. On I'm going in now with roughly 20% positions. Yeah,
you know, and all the major traders, you know, Q and all those guys say they have 1% or less. Usually, that's very common to have 1% or less. So I think if you stick into those ranges, you should be able to find success in what, if you're able to stay consistent in your trades.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like, it's up to you. You know, I know Lance and Ariel, they more use the VWAP entrance. Q uses like the 5-minute candle and the 30-minute candle, so you can use those. You know, I've heard other traders, you know, Lance also says he doesn't even use the moving averages, he uses Bollinger Band. So, which is still a form of moving average, don't get me wrong. So it's all the same kind of ideas in principle. It's just trying to find something that, if you're able to replicate it and do it consistent enough, that you'll start to make money. And then once it starts to compound, like, the money starts to going up. Like, you know, trust me, I've been pretty excited. My numbers are going up, and things are looking good. So obviously I still got a lot of the year left. So I'm really hoping I can get up to 50. And I mean, who knows? The other thing too is, like I said, I've been doing this strategy for about 3 months now. Really, I would argue 2, where I'm like, you know, sticking to this very specific rules. But in that time period, I've seen really good success. But what my point though is, it hasn't really been also like tested in terms of like, you know, it did survive March, which was a pretty much just like downwards the whole time. So that was a good test. But I still want to see other markets where I don't see momentum working. And, you know, I don't know, maybe I'll just step back and stop trading for a while if I start to see things, you know, dry up in it, or I start to see my hit rate really collapse. So,
but you are happy on the day to just go in when you are in a stock and then you sell. That's it for the day for you right now, right?
Yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm just trying to keep it simple. So if I get in and it works or doesn't work, it doesn't matter. That's really, you know, kind of what I did for the day. You know, I do take 2 trades all the time, because, you know, I said right now I'm using about 50%. I went back and forth if I should bring that down to do like 33% of the account, and maybe if it really starts to expand, I would drop that number down. But like, part of the thing I was thinking about is, what's his name? Who's like the guy in the 90s that made like the 10 million so fast? I can't think of his name.
Dan Sanger.
Yeah, Dan Zanger. Dan Zanger said when he, you know, was really killing it, he was putting his whole account in. Which, you know, I don't recommend doing that. I'm not, you know, and none of this is investing or trading advice, guys. You got to make your own decisions on how to do these things. The risk is incredibly high for what I'm doing. But, you know, Zanger, he would put his whole account in, and obviously that's a great way to compound it. The risk is extremely high.
Yeah.
But if you can find a strategy that allows you to do something like that, I don't think it's implausible. And obviously it worked for him. Now, granted, that was a perfect environment for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, then what do you call it? Tuesday, I took AXTI. which,
Yeah.
you know, that was a decent little gain, on, and you know, sometimes you're gonna look at that and you'll be like, why did that candle speak to you? And it must have just been moving in, you know, when I was, you know, in the morning. That's the thing. And so like some of these moves, it's not necessarily that it has to be on a breakout. It's a little different than swing trading. It's more just I'm trying to capture a time period where things look good. So
There's
yeah,
a
there you go. If you break it down
Yeah.
to that, you see that candle.
This-
That's what caught my eye.
Yeah, this is the 5-minute chart, and look at the volume. Also, the size of the candle is just coming violently up through the averages, you know. And then the next one is also going up. So I guess I don't know how much time you spent in this one, but you wouldn't need to be there so much to get a gain that you are aiming for, I guess.
Right, and that's why I said if you're only trying to capture 1% or something small, you know, essentially scalping like what I'm doing,
Yeah.
you can get in and out of these names. Now, granted, as you get bigger, it's going to get harder too because there'll be slippage and you got to be really careful. You know, as you put markets orders in and stuff, and the timing becomes incredibly important on these things. So it's trust me, I'm not saying it's easy. It's, you know, there's a lot of little things I've picked up in how I'm doing this, but you get an idea, you know. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for like just in the, you know, at whatever moment in time I'm going to click on something, it's got to be moving. It's got to be in like a time period where you can just tell everyone is pouring into that stock. That's my goal, is to find those stocks. And I'm not saying that's easy to do, but if you can set yourself up where you're screening for these kind of stocks and then you're watching, you know, each day for that volume really to pour in and, you know, something to really start taking off. That's the way you can kind of find these and take advantage of the situations.
Yeah. Both of those stocks have very high RS rating on the indicator that I'm using. This tries to emulate like the IBD one, but 99 is the highest rating. So HIVE had 98. I don't know if it had it in that day, but the point is they are probably well above 90, both of them. So you're picking like strong stocks.
Yeah, and if I go to my current list, because I have something almost identical in, they call it like the sector scale or whatever, and it's the same thing. It's 1 to 100.
Yeah.
Like when I look through, because right now I have about 160 stocks in my list that I'm following. There's only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's of 160 stocks, there's only 12 of them that have below a 90 rating.
Yeah. So,
you know, and like I said, that's one of the ways I start to filter things out. If I see that number starts to creep down, it just, you know, it means it's no longer kind of leading the sector, or at least traveling with the leaders in the sector. But
so strong.
Sorry, what'd you say?
No, a lot of people talk shit about AXTI, that it's the core business and fundamentals are pretty bad, but this chart looks, you can't argue against this chart.
Well, you know, you can say whatever you want, but as if you're trading, I don't care at all what the fundamentals are. I mean, if something looks like it's on like the edge of bankruptcy, I might be hesitant to go in.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, you know, on top of this, I'm using all these different ideas. Like, it's not just volume and price action that I'm looking at. Let's say, what was an example of one that had jumped on? I can't remember what it was, but something had jumped in, like last week was earnings. So every day, if I'm going to buy something, I want to quickly check, did it have earnings? You know, is it actually an EP, but it happens to land in my realm? You know what I mean? Yeah. So like last week, I had a really good week, and there was a bunch of EPs I played. You know, and at that point, you know, on those days, I kept my stop loss a little bit looser because I'm like, you know, these things are really moving. I want to see if I can capture a little bit more than, you know, 1% or so. So it's kind of just playing around with all that stuff.
But on
And
if
you know,
if you go back to your entry in AXTI, then because I was checking now, if you look at the chart on the daily time frame, this is just
mhm.
so tight, and you know the move is really tight all the way here, and then it hits the 21 EMA here, one more time here, one more time here. Here it goes down to the 50 and then bounces back up. So when you took it, and you can see it's just like a clear pattern in the entire move up here, that it finds support on these lines. When
Right.
you took it, the first 5-minute candle, it did touch almost the 21 EMA here. Was that something you saw as well that made you go into it?
Yes. So like I said, the things I'm looking for too is I'm going to definitely look at the daily chart. I just want to see where it is in relative terms. If it's at all-time highs, that's good. And if it's bouncing off somewhere, it typically bounces off. Those are good. Those are two signs I definitely look for.
Yeah.
If it's and then obviously I want the volume, I want the price action to be working in my favor. I love if the whole sector's moving. And then lastly, if there's any kind of news. And sometimes the news doesn't have to be that day. Like if it had decent news, like a new contract or something in the past like week or two, sometimes let's just take a while to kind of like show up.
What else did you get into that?
Wednesday was SLS, which I did break even on.
I saw that one. That was Wednesday
Um,
here.
Yeah, and
This one.
Wednesday was so I don't think I did anything wrong there. I just followed my rule and I got stopped out. But it was literally it was like I basically paid for whatever the fee was because it was like I think I owed like not even $1 to do the trade. So so you know that one actually almost worked. I just, you know, like I said, there's always a little bit of slippage when you're trying to do these things, and I don't really follow like the tape per se, but I do see how quickly the bid and ask is adjusting as things come in, to kind of have an idea of where we're at in a move. And then like I said, I'm looking at all kinds of different things, you know, like what is the 10-minute candle doing, what is the 20-minute doing, what you know, I have one that compares, you know, the pre-market, so I kind of see how things are coming off the pre-market. Those are all little things I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so SLS was a good example of, you know, it's one that jumped, and yeah, it didn't work out for me, but I didn't lose anything because I kept my stop loss tight. So it's just one of those things that, like, you know, don't lose money and you will keep making money. And then Thursday, maybe that was the quantum day, I took QBTS.
Yeah. Hold on. You can hear me now, Dane, right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
I don't know. I have all sorts of issues today. QBTS on Thursday, you said?
Yeah, Thursday. And that one worked. That was a nice little game.
So many. This was on news that Trump were gonna put some funding into the quantum space, right?
Yeah, and all the quantum names have been kind of coming off all their lows. They're all starting to look bullish right now. That whole sector's just starting to break out.
Yeah.
So all those names are starting to pop up onto my watch list.
Yeah.
You know, QBTS, RGTI, QUBT,
IOQ.
Ion, yeah, yeah, all of them. I mean, you know, I really don't. And on that day, I don't think you could have picked one and been wrong.
No. It's interesting though, because I kind of lost a little bit of interest because there were so many other stocks in my list. So when it lost here, the 50 EMA here, I kind of lost a little bit focus on these names. I did see them every day anyways, but like I said, there was other things that look better, I think. But I kind of missed, I guess this day on Wednesday was a little bit of a signal that this is turning around a bit, you know?
Yeah, and also, so like I said, when I go through and review my list, if I see how that, yes, it's breaking through the moving averages, which looks bearish, but it held up just below its previous low bounce.
Yeah.
So when I see that, that means to me it has not broken down yet. Like, don't take that off the list. There's still and don't get me wrong, a lot of these stocks, they move in that wave like action where you're going to see pullbacks. It's totally normal. It's healthy. It's what sets up for next momentum move.
Yeah.
So you know, that's that this to me, it didn't mean take it off the list. Now, if that had broken down below that previous dip on, what was that, like April 30th or whatever, the last dip.
Oh, here, yeah.
If that one had broken down below the previous one, then I would really be hesitant to keep these on my list, because that to me means there's no one supporting it. But right there, you see it get down to that low, and it immediately gets bought up, which means, you know, people are happy to buy there.
Yeah. And if you switch to the weekly, that was actually probably here, right? Oh no, it was that was this one. But the weekly chart also, even this here, the last week, it did dip below all the averages, but it came back, you know. So sometimes different time frames just helps you focus on a potential move coming in, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
And then yesterday I took GSIT.
One more.
GSIT, GSIT, or
Yeah.
GSI Technology is what the company is.
Okay.
IT, not AT.
Yeah, I have it here. So that was yesterday on this one. Did you get stopped out on that one, or?
No, that one I made the percent I wanted.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's a good example of one that, you know, it didn't stay, it didn't hold, but I caught the move when I wanted to.
Yeah. And from your experience, like in this first period, a lot of the charts you have gone through now, when you go to the 5-minute chart, they look very similar. You have a bounce up. Maybe you are out already here, I don't know, but then it pulls back to the first to the 9 EMA here, and then it goes one more round, and then they tend to flat out a little bit.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, any stock that has momentum, it's gonna hold for a little bit and then pull back. So yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, I'm just looking for stuff that's moving.
Yeah.
And you know, the big thing is, like before, like what was that up in the morning from the previous day? What is that gap between the open and the close there on that 5-minute?
On the 5-minute, let's just do I have it here. Yeah, 7.5.
Yeah, so you know, I mean, 7.5, I guess it's not that crazy, but my point being is, like, even if something's up 15% from, you know, the previous day to the open, you know, before I would be really hesitant to go in on something like that. But now, you know, as long as your stop loss is there, I mean, you know, obviously it sucks to get stopped, but it is what it is. That's part of it. That's always part of it. Like, you're just going to be wrong sometimes, and you just have to kind of eat those losses.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
But I mean, that's
so
what did
that return then for the week?
So this last week, and like I said, remember, you know, it's not the whole account, but I was up 1.7%, which it's not that sounds all that impressive, and it's not meant to be impressive. It's just meant to be, if I can consistently do 1% a week, that's 50% a year. And if it's over that, like 1.7 is almost 2%, that could be 100% a year.
It's pretty stable though. It's like slow and steady. It's what you
That's
want.
the goal is, you know, I switched from trying to hit home runs to like focusing on, let's just take gains and do it all the time.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's just about executing and like I said, just review your trades and you'll start to see patterns.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I should have done this or I could have done that. And then find what looks the most successful to you. You know, most of the traders say not to buy on the open, which I don't necessarily agree with. They might be right. Maybe I'd have better odds if I wasn't buying it opened, you know, or like towards the start of the day. I don't buy it open. I never buy it open. But you know, but then I hear Q's like, you know, he goes off the 1 and the 5 minute candles. That's kind of what started me on this is, you know, in the 5 minute candle is probably the highest hit rate that I've seen, but sometimes maybe the 30 is even higher.
Yeah. I'm
So it
using
does depend.
sometimes for my pullback strategy now I'm using the 15 if I'm coming a little bit late. You can find opportunities on the 15 on a lot of the stocks that I'm following, I think.
Right.
Yeah, that's very nice. These are my stocks. I have tried more this week, but this is the my current holdings. And you know, ARM is my new favorite stock, Dane, because I'm in it 2 times now, and it performs like crazy. This is definitely like one of the leading stocks for 2026, I think. I bought ARM first on 8th of April. So here, and it returned almost 40% for me. I think I sold it here, probably here, the first time. And then I've tried it a few times to get into it again, but I ended up taking it 18th of May on this pullback. If you can see on my chart, it pulls back to the 21 EMA. And I got an entry somewhere here, and I used the low of the day as a stop. And then I've just been trimming the position a little bit and raised my my stop loss on it. And it's already like a 40% gain or something like that, I think. So,
Thanks.
and look at the volume coming in bottom here. You know, it doesn't seem to slow down right now. It's extended for sure. But I've taken off half the position, so I'm just gonna stick now to when it closed below the 9 EMA. I'm selling the rest. That's my plan for it.
Yeah, very nice.
So ARM was another one that went really well and kind of put me back on track this week after a terrible period. And then I kind of like this chart. It's not a big gain for me so far, but affirmative is now Affirm Holdings, AFRM. I like how it looks here. I went into it on 19 of May, I think it was. It was either 19 or 18 on that as well, one of these days. Also on a pullback. Then I'm using like the 5-minute time frame to decide the entry. And I was almost stopped on it yesterday. But I hope that this can. You see on Thursday it came down to the 20 EMA, and then it got back up again. And I was hoping that Friday will take off, you know, up here and break out properly, but it did reverse, which was a bit disappointing because the market was doing well as well. But I'm still in it, so let's see what happens next week. And you know, this Monday is the day off in the markets as well, so it's going to be a shorter week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say you bring up a good point too, because when it comes to my trading too, if the comp's down, and I use the NASDAQ, you know, almost always just because almost all my stocks are in the NASDAQ. But if the day starts and it's already, you know, the NASDAQ's already down and kind of ugly looking, you know, I'll either take my time and going into something, or I won't trade that day, or I will I'll kind of wait for the market to turn, or you just have to be a little bit more hesitant on those days because your chance of getting stopped is, all of a sudden starts to go up pretty high. So it's always important to take into the overall account what just the market's doing. Because like you said, if the wind's, behind you, then, even more reason to take a trade and maybe keep that stop loss a little bit looser. But like I said, that's all stuff that I'm working on, how I handle that.
Yeah. And that's one of the, I forgot to mention it earlier, like when I was reflecting a little bit on what had gone wrong when I gave back the gains. One thing that I haven't been able to do yet, because I'm thinking about how to do it most efficient, because I need it to be very, a good workflow, but it is to add more things to more sections in my lists of stocks that I have noticed are strong, and divide them into like leaders and maybe the middle and then the laggers, because that will help me catch the market breadth a little bit more visual, clear inside of trading view, I think.
Right.
So when I see, for example, that some of the leaders, they start to look weak, like we talked about now on the crypto charts, you can see some signs going on. Maybe you should just take all the risk off and be cash for a little bit until things turns around. Maybe you miss out on some move, but at least you don't lose money.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too is if whatever you're doing, if you start to run into like a period where you're just kind of getting hit, like just take a break, just wait.
Yeah.
You'll start to see patterns show up in due time. Not everything works in all markets. Obviously, there's always going to be up and down periods. So, Pradeep and all those guys constantly talk about the market and, the overall feel of it. And, you really have to kind of be in tune with all those little different things to find your timing and to actually make a move. If no one's buying, you don't want to be the one there.
Yeah. But I think that can help me to add it to a daily routine where I just go through all those charts. I will quickly notice like how is the environment currently, and I'm sure that will also mess up some decisions for me that I will sell when I shouldn't have sold. But like I said, then at least you don't lose money.
Right.
Yeah. So the next one, is Mara, which is like a crypto related stock, I think, right? It's which engage in mining cryptocurrencies. So like we said, like you can still find some crypto plays, even though the crypto chart itself looks a bit weak. But I don't even remember when I took Mara. Maybe here on the 19. I don't remember actually. I don't think this is such a big gain for me. So maybe I took it on Wednesday, 20 here. But also I trimmed this position and managed to raise the stop. So I'm going to just trade it with the remaining. And yesterday or the day before even, it kind of did break out from this short base it had here as well. And the volume is coming in, so I kind of like it here. And then I took DELL. DELL did really good yesterday. I took it here on Wednesday on this breakout.
Nice.
And also, if you look at the previous bar, it almost hit the 21 EMA and it came back. And the next day, it gapped up a little bit and kind of broke out on my trend line here. And also finished above the 9 EMA. So I just thought that was a strong signal that, I should take it. But I am aware, though, they have earnings on Thursday, I think, this coming week. So I took a little bit off yesterday into this strength here, and I will probably, depending on how the week turns out, I will probably be out of it before earnings. So I was happy to see it move yesterday like a lot. It was some AI news. Can you believe that, Dane? AI news?
Never heard of it.
No. And then I took BE on this breakout here. That was like a pure breakout thing. It did turn yesterday. I didn't like that. So I'm not up a lot on BE, but and also if you look at the weekly, it's a little bit extended on the weekly. This is one of the huge movers from a year ago. So a name you kind of want to be in. And they also
Bloom's
had
been wild.
some deal with NBIS to work together to generate energy for also AI. But yeah, I didn't like the negative turn it took yesterday, but I'm still in it. I raised the stop a little bit, but I took some off on BE as well, just because it's a long weekend. So I wanted to protect some of the gains in all of the stocks, I think, yesterday.
So how are you handling, like, what are your position sizes going in, and then what are you doing for trimming?
I go in with 20%.
Okay.
Almost every time. Sometimes I'm fully invested but have a little bit left, and I just put that into a name, just to test a little bit and to have some capital in a name that I want to just to track it if it's a successful trade or not. But usually 20% positions. I'm working on how much I should trim. Right now I decided to go. Some of them I own just a few shares because they were a bit expensive, so I was kind of forced to take off like 1/3 instead of maybe 20% or even 15%. But I'm working on like between 15% and 20% on the first sale. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. But like I said, in some of these more expensive names, I had to sell like 1/3 instead. So that's what I've been doing. In ARM, I trimmed half the position over 3 days because it just kept going. So it's a little bit different, but the first partial I try to take 15 to 20% off.
Gotcha.
And that is just to balance, because when things also moves, like for example ARM, I want to have most of my position still in it to generate like the maximum profits. And then the flip side is, of course, things usually they don't move like this. But then I have at least taken off 20% and raised the stop to break even. So And then this is one of the names that I took a smaller position because I didn't have so much money left in account. So I just took what's left and put it into Circle. Almost got stopped out yesterday. But I did take it. I think I took it here on Wednesday on another pullback move. And I think this can go up a lot, but I'm first of all, the position is super tiny, and I might get stopped before it happens. But I gave a little bit more room to this one just because the position was tiny, so I could put the stop loss at 3-4%.
Yeah.
And then
that looks Circle's chart on the daily looks really good.
Yeah, I agree. And it found support here on the 150 EMA. Really good. I'm also using the anchored weave app. This is I don't know this color, they kind of like pink, I guess.
Yeah, whatever.
That's the anchored weave app that I like to see on my pullback buys. Sometimes the anchored weave app aligned perfectly together with one of the other EMAs. So that's a strong. I think that tilt the odds in my favor on some of the pullback buys. So it found
It's also
support.
right at the 200, just so you know.
Sorry.
I don't know if you have the 200 up, but it's right on it.
Yeah, this dark red one is 150 EMA, so kind of similar to the 200. But yeah, I guess the 200 would be here somewhere. So it has just found multiple support levels and slowly starts to build. And if you also put the trend line down like I have done here, you can maybe expect a proper breakout soon, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, it's got higher lows and it's got a higher high.
Yeah. No, I like it. And there was some other like Oracle and a few other names in the same group. Looks decent as well. And then end of day, close to end of day, and I don't usually do this, but I did it yesterday. I went into CRWV. A little bit similar. I saw it found support here on the 50 EMA, and it has also gotten some, since Tuesday went up a little bit. If you look at this chart on the weekly, I should probably have bought it down here. I think this was a better entry, this candle here on Wednesday, when it pulled back into the 150 EMA. But I didn't have money then to put into this. And then I saw it gapped up on Thursday. So I thought it was maybe a great opportunity for me to, if it's going to move, to jump in here when it almost touched the 50 EMA and try, just hope that I don't get stopped out on Tuesday. But yeah, those are my positions right now. And it's a mix of pullback buys and like pure breakout buys on these ones.
Yeah, I noticed you've been doing a lot of the pullbacks, but I see what you're seeing.
Yeah. And they, to be fair, like they have worked really well on a lot of my tickers. What I have struggled with so far is that I have tended to be stopped out like the day or the day after that. So my entry was good on the day, but then the next day I get stopped. So maybe the wrong stock. This is where I told you when I went back to study and I also made some changes in terms of my scans and stuff. And so far, at least, which is also connected to the uptrend in the general market, of course. But so far, that has worked better. So I have to wait and see if I continue, if it's going to prove to be, a good strategy or not. But this was also my list on Friday, and I think there's a lot of names here still that looks really interesting. But right now I'm actually fully invested, so I'm not doing the margins or margin buys or anything. But we talked about this stock though, Dane, IBRX. We were a bit disappointed because I was in IBRX in this move up here. So I know that this one can move properly, and this was all news based. They got some acceptance in Saudi Arabia and also in Europe, and I think also in the USA in this time period. And now there was some news on just a couple of days ago about them getting accepted in some studies in Europe as well, or something like that, and it just turned all the way. So it was a bit disappointing to see, but I kept it on the list, Dane.
Yeah, it might just need a little bit longer to digest.
Yeah. But I hope to see that the volume will not slow down so much and just continue in a downtrend. But like you said, maybe it's a positive thing that it's just building a bigger base. And then when the move finally comes, it will be like this again.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah.
You got anything else? Because I do got to get going.
Yeah, no, these are, I was just gonna ask you, like, the oil chart. What do you think about the oil future? I kind of like how it looks, and I do see some oil names in my scans, but I kind of expected a little bit more. I know you don't pay so much attention to these things anymore now, but
No, I
I don't
still
think this
do
looks
because
bad.
I like to just keep it in context. You know, and obviously oil's high risk for the entire market right now.
Yeah,
But the only thing I can think is like, so if the strait has been closed for as long as it's been closed, like prices are stagnant in terms of that they're just high right now. I mean, they're high all over the place. It's not coming down. You know, the longer it goes on, we'll start to see it tick up in inflation because it's going to increase the cost of everything. So I don't see it going incredibly higher from here. If anything, I see the chance of it going down more likely, just
yeah,
if things are to open back up for any reason. And don't get me wrong, I think it's going to be kind of a longer extended thing. I really don't think this is going to get solved very quickly.
yeah.
No one seems to be really pushing for that. So I would just think that even though it looks good right now, I don't see this really going much higher.
It reminds me
I
a little bit of the QQQ when it started to move sideways, here.
Yeah,
Eh,
and don't get me wrong, you know,
you
the
know, the,
chart, if I was to just read the chart, I would think it's going to go up from here. But
yeah,
I just think historically, you know, you're not going to see it go parabolic or anything from here just because it's all based on the price of oil, which there's no catalyst to push it much higher from here.
yeah,
At least as of right now. I don't know if war like really broke out or something, it could get worse, but I don't know.
no. And I saw XOM. They had a little bit of a run here, but then it came back a little bit again. So seems like maybe here's a cup and handle, something like that. But this is a slower move, a slower ADR stock, so it's not very relevant for me to take a position in. But it's one of the bigger ones to track. But I do like the few ones I found, like KOS, Cosmos Energy. And
Yep.
I kicked out the another name. I think it was Pump or Bor. Bor didn't deliver on earnings, so I think Bor went down a little bit. Yeah, Bor kind of lost its momentum here.
Yeah,
So
that one and the other one I was watching was WTI, which
yeah,
is holding up pretty well.
yeah. Oh, that's probably not. Yeah. Anyways, and then you had Pump, who, yeah, I don't know. Um, I kind of like KOS though. But it
Yeah, it's
needs
still
to
on my
break out
list.
properly. Huh?
I said it's still on my list.
Yeah. But you need a catalyst, like you said. Maybe you won't get one, and these would break down. But I saw also some talks about some really good investors and swing traders. They were talking about they could see some signs about a deal being made in the near future now,
Mhm.
which would then probably send, like you said, these stocks would go flat or a little bit down, probably. I guess, I assume. Um, but yeah, so far it seems like semis and crypto miners and hardware, computer stuff are the place to be. Software.
Yeah, I just think that's where everyone's interested right now. So that's where I'm gonna focus all my attention
Yeah,
is anything to do with the push to get that tech up and running.
yeah, yeah. No, that's kind of what I didn't go through like the stocks I lost all the money on in that period. But if anyone wants to know, you can ask me in Discord or something. We can go through it there. I think you have to go now, right?
Yeah, I do, just because I gotta take the kids.
Yeah. So Yeah. By the way, I see new people coming into the Discord every now and then, so it's good to see. And I hope maybe we can generate a little bit more conversation in there. That would be cool.
Yeah. This whole time we've kept this small, and I like I said, results are what I want. If anyone comes into this and is interested in what we're doing, I want it to be from the results, not from just being gimmicky. So as we improve, I hope people find this valuable still. I enjoy doing it just because I like to talk things through no matter what.
Yeah.
So I don't really care how many people are paying attention or not,
Agreed.
because it's been incredibly beneficial to me
Yeah.
learning. And a few people have thrown things my way, which has, been super helpful to me. So I appreciate it.
And thanks to Kevin and once again Value for coming in today. And I hope to see you on the next stream as well. And
all right, well, you got anything else to add?
No, I think it's going to be a shorter week, just 4 days. And I know for me personally, I'm going to be very busy at work this coming week, so I probably won't do so much. In at least in the opening every day actually. So I just hope my positions will continue to perform. But if they don't, I sell out later in the day. That's my plan for the week.
Yeah. No, I think that's what you can do right now.
Yeah. Stupid work. Always getting in the way.
Yeah, it's useless.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, on that.
Yeah. We see you next weekend then.
Yeah, everyone if you got Monday off, enjoy. Have a nice weekend, everybody.
Yeah.
We will. You got plans next week?
I was thinking.
I think I should be able to stream.
Yeah, I think I should be good.
Okay.
All right.
We'll post to the Discord about it.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
All right. See you, everybody.